Admiral Day-Ho Park stood on the bridge of the UEF flagship Indomitable, staring at the message display with cold eyes. The alien text had been translated 3 times by different computers, but the meaning remained the same. The Galactic Hegemony wanted humanity gone. "Sir, the message is confirmed authentic," Captain So-Young Kim said from her station. Her voice was steady, but Day-Ho could see the tension in her shoulders. "It comes directly from the Hegemony Supreme Council." Day-Ho read the message again. 30 days. That was all the time the aliens were giving humanity to abandon every colony beyond Earth's solar system. 12 different alien species had signed this ultimatum. Species that had never agreed on anything before were now united in one goal: removing humans from space. "They call us too aggressive," Day-Ho said quietly. "Too dangerous for civilized space." So-Young turned her chair to face him. "What do we tell the colonies, sir?" Before Day-Ho could answer, Lieutenant Jin Soo-Han spoke up from the communication station. "Admiral, we're receiving similar messages from all human colonies. The aliens have sent the same ultimatum to everyone simultaneously." Day-Ho walked to the main viewing screen. Outside, stars dotted the darkness of space. Somewhere out there, human families were building new lives on distant worlds. Children who had never seen Earth were playing in alien soil that their parents had made into home. The thought of abandoning them made his stomach turn. "Send a priority message to Earth," Day-Ho ordered. "President Lee needs to see this immediately." On Earth, President Jae-Min Lee sat in the emergency council chamber deep beneath Seoul. The message from the hegemony had reached him an hour ago. Around the table sat the leaders of every major human nation and colony. The room was silent except for the quiet hum of air recyclers. "They want us to become prisoners in our own solar system," General Tae-Hyun-shin said. His weathered face showed no emotion, but his hands were clenched into fists on the table. 12 alien species against one human race. Dr. Yoon-ji Nam, the Tao government's chief xenobiologist, spoke softly. "The hegemony has been watching us for decades. They've seen how we fight each other. They think we'll fold under pressure like we did during our old wars. But this is different," President Lee said. "This isn't humans fighting humans. This is about survival of our entire species." Through the communication system, voices from the colonies began reporting in. New Seoul Colony had 2 million people. The mining stations around Kepler 442 supported 500,000 families. Agricultural worlds fed billions back on Earth. All of it would be lost if humanity obeyed the ultimatum. Captain Woo Jin-han, speaking from the orbital defense platform above New Seoul, delivered his report with quiet determination. "Mr. President, the colonists here are refusing to evacuate. They say this is their home now. They won't leave." Similar reports came from every human settlement. Families who had spent years building new lives were not willing to give up everything because aliens demanded it. President Lee stood up slowly. The weight of his decision would affect every human alive. "Connect me to the Hegemony Communication Network. I want every alien species to hear this." The technicians worked quickly. Within minutes, the communication link was established. President Lee's voice would reach not just the Hegemony Supreme Council, but every alien world that was part of their coalition. "To the Galactic Hegemony," President Lee began, his voice calm and clear. "We have received your ultimatum. You demand that humanity abandon the worlds we have built with our own hands. You want us to give up the homes where our children were born and where our dead are buried." He paused, looking around the room at the faces of Earth's leaders. Each one showed the same determination he felt in his heart. "Our answer is no. We will not abandon the colonies. We will not retreat to Earth like frightened animals. If you want us gone from those worlds, you will have to remove us by force." The alien response came within hours. Admiral Keth Nari of The Thrylex spoke for the Supreme Council. The insectoid aliens' translated words carried clear threat. Humans have chosen conflict over wisdom. The hegemony will not allow aggressive species to spread chaos through civilized space. Our fleets are already moving to enforce the ultimatum: resist and face the consequences. Back on the Indomitable, Admiral Deho Park reviewed the tactical, reports flowing in from human intelligence networks. The aliens were not making empty threats. Hegemony fleets were moving toward human space from multiple directions. The Thrylex brought bioships that looked more like giant insects than spacecraft. These living vessels could heal damage and adapt their weapons during battle. The Vidari contributed energy-based ships that seemed to be made of living crystal. Their weapons could slice through metal like cutting paper. Most dangerous were the Kalani dreadnoughts. These massive ships were built for creatures that lived in gas-giant atmospheres. They were bigger than anything humanity had ever constructed, and their weapons could crack moons. "How long do we have?" So Young asked, studying. "The tactical display. The fastest hegemony ships will reach New Sol in 18 days, Lieutenant Han reported. The main fleet will arrive in 25 days. Deho nodded grimly. The aliens were giving humanity less time than promised in their ultimatum. They wanted to catch the human colonies before they could prepare proper defenses. "Send new orders to all human military units," Deho commanded. "We're not evacuating. We're preparing to fight." The next few days passed in frantic activity. Human ships moved to defensive positions around the colonies. Military engineers began converting civilian structures into weapons platforms. Families were moved to underground shelters, but they refused to leave their worlds. Dr. Young-Mi Park, working in a secret research facility on Luna, received priority access to every piece of alien technology humanity had ever captured. Her job was to find weaknesses in hegemony weapons and defenses. Time was running out, but she worked without sleep. "The Thrylex bioships are living creatures," she reported to Admiral Park via encrypted communication. "If they're alive, they can be killed. But we need to figure out how." Meanwhile, Captain Minji Lee led scouting missions to observe the approaching alien fleets. Her fast ships stayed at the edge of sensor range, gathering intelligence about enemy capabilities. What she saw was terrifying. The hegemony had sent enough firepower to destroy every human colony 10 times over. But something else was happening, across human space. The threat of extinction was doing something that centuries of Earth politics had never accomplished. Humanity was truly uniting for the first time in their history. Old enemies became allies overnight. Nations that had fought for generations put aside their differences. Corporate rivals shared technology freely. Religious and cultural divisions seemed meaningless when the entire species faced extinction. On New Sol, Captain Hyun-Woo Choi organized the Colonial Defense Force. He had been a military engineer before joining the colony, but now he found himself commanding fighters, miners, farmers, and shopkeepers who had volunteered to defend their home. "We can't match their firepower," he told his mixed group of volunteers. "But we know this system better than they do. We know every asteroid, every moon, every place to hide. We'll make them pay for every meter of space." The approaching hegemony fleet had no idea what they were flying into. They expected to find scared humans ready to surrender. Instead, they would face a species that had decided extinction was preferable to submission. As the alien ships drew closer to human space, President Lee sent one final message to the galaxy. "To any species listening to this transmission, humanity has been given a choice between slavery and death. We choose to fight. If we fall, remember that we died free. And if we survive, remember that we earned our place in this galaxy with our blood." The message ended with coordinates for New Sol Colony and 3 simple words that would become humanity's war cry: "Come and take it." The hegemony had wanted a quick, clean removal of an aggressive species. Instead, they had awakened something far more dangerous than they could imagine: they had united humanity against a common enemy. And humanity, when truly united, was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The war was about to begin. The hegemony fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the new Sol system like a swarm of angry wasps. Admiral Kethnari stood in the command chamber of his bioship flagship, watching the human colony world through organic sensors that pulsed with alien light. "Scan for human military presence," he ordered. His mandibles clicked together in what other species had learned was Thrylex amusement. "This will be over quickly." The scanning officer, a crystalline Vadari, reported back within minutes. "Minimal, military ships detected. Some converted civilian vessels. Orbital platforms appear to be modified mining stations." Kethnari's 6 eyes focused on the tactical display. The humans had maybe 50 ships defending their colony world. The hegemony had brought 300. This would indeed be quick. What Kethnari didn't know was that Captain Hyunwoo Choi had been preparing for this moment since the ultimatum arrived. The human defense commander sat in his command bunker deep beneath New Seoul's main city, watching. The alien fleet through hidden sensors scattered throughout the system. "They're positioning exactly like our intelligence predicted," reported Lieutenant Dong-Soo Kim from the tactical station. "The Thrylex bioships are forming the center. Vadari energy ships on the flanks. Kalani dreadnoughts staying back for heavy. Support!" Hyunwoo smiled grimly. "They're fighting like they always fight. Predictable. So-Ra, are the mining charges ready?" Engineer So-Ra Lim nodded from her position at the engineering console. "All asteroid mining platforms have been converted to weapons. The moment they move into the inner system, we can turn every rock into a missile." Dr. Yoonji Nam had spent weeks studying the captured alien technology in the colony's research labs. Her voice came through the communication system from the underground facility where she worked. "Captain, I've found something important about the Thrylex bioships. They're not just alive, they're connected to each other through some kind of biological network. If we can disrupt that connection, their coordination will fall apart." The first phase of the battle began when the hegemony fleet moved toward New Seoul. The aliens expected token resistance before the humans surrendered. Instead, they flew into a carefully prepared trap. The asteroid belt around New Seoul had been turned into a massive weapon system. Mining charges that had been used to break apart rocks for valuable metals were now programmed to launch those same rocks at alien ships. Hundreds of asteroids suddenly changed course, accelerating toward the hegemony fleet. "What is this?" Kethnari demanded as his sensors detected the incoming rock storm. "Humans don't have this technology." But the humans weren't using advanced technology. They were using mining equipment in ways the aliens had never imagined. Simple chemical rockets attached to asteroids turned space rocks into kinetic weapons. The hegemony ships designed to fight energy weapons and missiles had no defense against flying mountains. The first Thrylex bioship died when a nickel-iron asteroid the size of a city block smashed through its organic hull. The living ship screamed across all communication frequencies as it bled atmosphere and biofluids into space. Vadari energy ships tried to slice the incoming asteroids with their crystal weapons, but there were too many rocks and not enough time. Even when they destroyed one asteroid, the fragments continued forward, shredding alien hulls with thousands of smaller impacts. "Impossible," Admiral Kethnari clicked. "Primitives don't fight like this." But Captain Hyunwoo Choi was just getting started. As the alien fleet tried to recover from the asteroid attack, he launched the second phase of his plan. "All civilian ships, begin your runs," he ordered. What the aliens had dismissed as converted civilian vessels were actually carefully disguised weapons platforms. Cargo ships that had been hauling supplies to the colony were now filled with fusion bombs. Passenger liners had been turned into missile carriers. Even small personal spacecraft had been converted into one-way attack drones. The human civilian fleet didn't try to engage the aliens in normal space combat. Instead, they came in fast, fired everything they had, and ran away before the aliens could respond effectively. It was like fighting a swarm of angry bees that wouldn't stay still long enough to swat. Captain Jin-Ho Yoon led the most daring attack of the battle. His converted cargo ship Lucky Strike closed to point-blank range with a 3-Lex bioship before anyone realized what he was doing. "This is for my daughter," Jin-Ho said quietly as he activated the emergency docking system. The cargo ship clamped onto the bioship's organic hull and began cutting through with industrial plasma torches. Before the aliens could react, Jin-Ho and his volunteer crew were inside the living vessel, carrying weapons that Dr. Yoonji Nam had specially designed. The humans had discovered that 3-Lex bioships were vulnerable to certain Earth diseases. Modified viruses that were harmless to humans could kill the alien vessels within hours. Jin-Ho and his crew released biological warfare agents throughout the ship before fighting their way to escape pods. The 3-Lex bioship began dying from the inside out. Its organic systems failed one by one as the human-modified virus spread through its living tissues. The ship's death screams disrupted the biological network connecting the other 3-Lex vessels, just as Dr. Nam had predicted. With their coordination broken, the 3-Lex bioships began attacking randomly instead of following tactical plans. Some fired on their own allies by mistake. Others simply drifted in space as their organic control systems failed. Engineer Sora Lim had been studying the Vadari energy ships from hidden observation posts throughout the system. The crystalline vessels used harmonic frequencies to focus their weapons and maintain their structure. Sora had discovered that feeding them conflicting frequencies could overload their systems. "Broadcasting disruption signal now," she reported as human communication arrays throughout the system began transmitting carefully calculated interference patterns. The Vadari ships began to vibrate as their crystal hulls resonated with the conflicting frequencies. One by one, their elegant energy weapons shut down as their harmonic matrices became unstable. Several ships actually shattered like wine glasses hit by a soprano's high note. The Kalani dreadnoughts, designed to operate in the crushing atmosphere of gas giant planets, were built to withstand enormous pressure and force. But their designers had never considered attacks from multiple directions by enemies that refused to fight fair. Human fighters, each no bigger than a shuttle, swarmed around the massive alien ships like insects attacking elephants. They couldn't penetrate the dreadnought's heavy armor, but they didn't need to. Instead, they targeted sensor arrays, communication systems, and weapon mounts. Blinded and partially deaf, the great Kolani ships began firing at shadows. Their massive weapons, designed to destroy planets, were useless against small, fast targets that kept changing direction unpredictably. The battle raged for 6 days. The hegemony had expected to win in 6 hours. Admiral Kethnari found himself commanding a fleet that was falling apart around him. His bioship flagship was one of the few 3-Lex vessels still functioning properly, but even it was showing signs of system failures. "Status report," he demanded. The reports that came back were disasters. 30% of the hegemony fleet was destroyed or disabled. The humans had lost ships too, but they kept fighting with whatever they had left. Damaged. Human vessels continued attacking even when they were falling apart. "Sir," reported a Vadari communications officer, "the humans are using their dying ships as weapons. They're ramming our vessels when their own systems fail." This was something completely outside hegemony experience. Civilized species surrendered when they were clearly beaten. They didn't turn their destroyed ships into final weapons. They didn't keep fighting when victory was impossible. Captain Hyun-woo Choi watched the battle from his command bunker, knowing that his forces were ultimately doomed. The aliens still had superior numbers and technology, but humanity had already won something more important than this single battle. "Sora, begin the evacuation," he ordered. "Get as many people as possible to the hidden bases in the outer system." "What? About you, sir?" Lieutenant Kim asked. I'm staying until the last transport is away. Someone needs to keep the aliens busy. The evacuation had been planned from the beginning. Hidden throughout the new Sol system were secret bases built into asteroids and small moons. The aliens would take the colony world, but they wouldn't capture the people who had made it home. As the surviving human defenders fell back to their final positions around New Sol, they transmitted a message to every human colony in space. The message was simple. We made them bleed. We proved they can be beaten. Don't surrender. Make them pay for every world they take. The hegemony finally captured New Sol on the 6th day of the battle, but it was a hollow victory. The planet's cities were empty except for automated systems broadcasting human defiance. The colonists had vanished into the darkness of space, taking with them the knowledge of how to hurt the supposedly invincible hegemony. Admiral Kethnari stood in the ruins of New Sol's main city, looking at graffiti that human children had painted on the walls before evacuating. The words were in a human language his translators couldn't decode, but somehow he understood their meaning. We'll be back. The Hegemony Supreme Council met in emergency session on the crystal world of Vadhar. 12 different alien species sat around the chamber, their various forms creating a bizarre collection of shapes and colors. But for the first time in centuries, they were all focused on the same problem. The humans cost us 67 ships at New Sol, Admiral Kethnari reported, his mandibles clicking nervously. They used tactics we have never encountered. They turned their entire star system into a weapon. The Kalani representative, a massive creature that existed in a pressurized tank filled with methane gas, spoke through mechanical translators. This is unacceptable. No primitive species has ever inflicted such losses on a hegemony fleet. Supreme Chancellor Velnathi, the ancient Vadari leader, studied the battle reports with growing concern. The crystalline being's thoughts moved through harmonic frequencies that lesser species couldn't understand, but the translation was clear enough. The humans did not fight like a normal species, Velnathi observed. They ignored all accepted rules of civilized warfare. They used civilian vessels as weapons. They contaminated bioships with diseases. They turned mining equipment into artillery. They must be stopped before they spread this chaos to other species, declared the Zorathi delegate. The energy-based life form flickered with agitation. If other primitives learned these tactics, the entire galactic order could collapse. The Council reached a unanimous decision. Humanity would be classified as a Class Alpha galactic threat. All previously forbidden weapons would be authorized for use against human targets. The war would escalate beyond anything the galaxy had seen in 1,000 years. On Earth, Fleet. Admiral Tae-hyun Shin stood in the underground command center, watching reports flow in from across human space. The aliens weren't wasting time. Hegemony fleets were moving toward every human colony simultaneously. They're hitting us everywhere at once, reported Captain So-young Kim, now promoted to Admiral Shin's chief of staff. 17 different star systems under attack. They're using weapons we've never seen before. Dr. Young-mi Park appeared on the main screen from her research facility on Luna. Dark circles under her eyes showed she hadn't slept in days, but her voice was steady and determined. Admiral, I've been analyzing the new hegemony weapons. They're using planet crackers, bioplagues, and reality distortion fields. These are weapons they've banned from use against each other for centuries. What does that tell us? Admiral Shin asked. It tells us they're scared, Dr. Park replied. Species don't break their own laws unless they're desperate. We hurt them worse at New Sol than they want to admit. The war spread across 17 star systems like a disease. Each battle taught humanity something new about fighting the hegemony, while the aliens grew more frustrated with human unpredictability. At the Kepler 442 mining colonies, Captain Woo Jin Han discovered that hegemony command structures were rigid and hierarchical. When he managed to destroy the command ship of a Thrylek swarm, the remaining bioships became confused and ineffective, firing randomly or simply drifting in space. Cut off the head and the body dies, Han reported to Earth Command. These aliens can't think for themselves without their leaders. Lieutenant Ji-Hoon Lee, commanding a scout ship in the Tau Ceti system, found a different weakness. The Vadari, energy ships communicated through harmonic frequencies that could be jammed with the right interference patterns. When their communication network was disrupted, the crystal ships couldn't coordinate their attacks. They're like a symphony orchestra, Lee explained in his report. Beautiful music when they work together, but chaos when someone plays the wrong notes. But humanity was learning to do more than just defend. Captain Minji Lee, now commanding her own squadron, had developed new ship designs that couldn't be categorized by alien tactical computers. Her vessels looked like floating scrap yards, but they could reconfigure themselves during battle. The aliens try to identify our ship types so their computers can plan attacks, Minji explained to Admiral Shin during a strategy meeting. But if we keep changing what our ships look like and how they function, their tactical systems get confused. Her squadron had perfected the art of shape-shifting. A cargo hauler could suddenly sprout weapon pods and become a gunship. A science vessel could deploy fighter bays and turn into a carrier. The aliens never knew what they were fighting until it was too late. Engineer Sora Lim had been promoted to head of tactical development after her success at New Seoul. Working with captured alien technology, she created weapons that combined human engineering with hegemony science in ways the original designers never intended. The aliens build tools for specific purposes, she reported, but humans build tools that can be used for multiple purposes. We take their technology and make it do things they never imagined. Her latest creation was a fusion torpedo that used Vadari crystal technology to focus the explosion into a beam instead of a sphere. The result was a weapon that could punch through the heaviest Kolani armor like it was paper. Meanwhile, Dr. Yoonji Nam had made a disturbing discovery while studying captured hegemony personnel. The aliens weren't just technologically advanced, they were also evolutionarily specialized. Each species had developed to fill a specific role in their galactic ecosystem. The Thrylex are living weapons, she explained to the Earth Command staff. The Vadari are living computers. The Kolani are living fortresses. Each species is perfectly adapted for their function, but they can't adapt beyond that function. What about humans? Admiral Shin asked. We're generalists, Dr. Nam replied. We're not the best at anything, but we can do everything. And more importantly, we can learn to do things better when we need to. This adaptability was becoming humanity's greatest weapon. While the aliens used the same tactics that had worked for millennia, humans changed their approach with every battle. Strategies that worked against humanity once never worked a second time. The Battle of Proxima Centauri demonstrated this perfectly. The hegemony attacked the human colonies there using the same tactics that had worked at other systems. But Captain Seok-Jin Park had studied those previous battles and prepared accordingly. When the Thrylex bioships tried their standard swarm attack, they found the space around Proxima filled with biological weapons specifically designed to kill their species. When the Vadari attempted their precision energy strikes, human jammers disrupted their harmonic targeting systems. When the Kolani dreadnoughts moved in for the killing blow, they discovered that the humans had turned the system's asteroid belt into a massive kinetic weapon platform. The hegemony lost two-thirds of their fleet at Proxima. More importantly, they began to realize they weren't fighting a typical species. The humans learn from every engagement, reported Admiral Kethnari to the Supreme Council. Tactics that worked yesterday are useless today. They adapt faster than we can develop new strategies. But the aliens were learning too. If humans could adapt, then the hegemony would overwhelm them with sheer force before they could adjust. Massive fleets began converging on human space from all directions. The war was entering a new phase. Both sides had learned that this conflict wouldn't be decided by superior technology or traditional tactics. It would be won by whoever could change and adapt faster than their enemy. Humanity had spent their entire history fighting each other, learning to overcome every possible type of enemy. The hegemony had spent centuries fighting primitive species that surrendered quickly when faced with superior force. Captain Dong-Hyun Kim, defending the agricultural worlds of Wolf 359, sent a message that summed up the human position. They want us to fight by their rules. But we never learned their rules. We're making up our own as we go. The aliens had expected a quick police action against an aggressive primitive species. Instead, they found themselves in a total war against an enemy that seemed to grow stronger and more dangerous with every defeat. Neutral species throughout the galaxy were starting to take notice. The mighty hegemony, which had maintained galactic peace for 1,000 years, was struggling against a single species that had only been in space for a few centuries. Some neutral. Governments began providing covert aid to human resistance groups. Others started preparing their own defenses, wondering if the hegemony was as invincible as they had always claimed. The war was changing the galaxy in ways no one had anticipated. And somewhere in the darkness between the stars, humanity was preparing surprises that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. Admiral Shin stood in the Earth Command Center, looking at tactical displays showing human forces across 17 star systems. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and fighting for their survival. But they were still fighting. "Status report," he ordered. "All colonies holding," reported Captain Kim. "Casualties are heavy, but morale remains strong. The hegemony is taking losses they never expected." "Good," Admiral Shin said quietly. "Let them learn what happens when they try to cage humanity. We didn't come this far to surrender now." The message went out to every human force in the galaxy. Hold the line. Make them pay for every meter of space. Show them that humanity doesn't know how to quit. And across human space, the message was received and understood. The war was just beginning. The Hegemony Supreme Council made their most fateful decision in a chamber filled with the desperate voices of 12 alien species. After months of grinding warfare across human space, their patience had finally run out. The humans refused to surrender, Supreme Chancellor Velnathi announced, the crystalline being's harmonic voice carrying frustration that transcended species barriers. They fight like cornered animals, getting more dangerous with each defeat. "Then we end this quickly," growled the Kalani representative through his methane tank's speakers. "We strike at their heart world, destroy Earth, and the human spirit will break." Admiral Kethnari's mandibles clicked nervously. "Earth is heavily defended. Our intelligence suggests they have concentrated their remaining fleet there." "No matter," declared the Zorathi energy being. "We will send the largest fleet in hegemony history. Every available ship from all 12 species. Earth will fall in one decisive battle." The decision was unanimous. The entire hegemony war machine would converge on humanity's home world. It would be the largest space battle in galactic history, and when it was over, the human problem would be solved forever. Earth, Admiral Daeho Park stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching the sensor displays with grim determination. The approaching hegemony fleet was beyond anything humanity had ever faced. Thousands of ships from every member species, carrying weapons that could crack planets and burn stars. "Sir, final count shows 4,700 enemy vessels," reported Captain So-Young Kim. "Our entire remaining fleet numbers less than 800 ships." "Including civilian conversions?" Admiral Park asked. "Including everything that can mount a weapon or carry a bomb," So-Young confirmed. "We're still outnumbered 6-1. Dr. Sang-Wook Kim appeared on the main screen from his secret facility on Luna. The scientist looked exhausted but excited, like a man who had just made an impossible discovery. "Admiral, Project Prometheus is ready for deployment, but I need to warn you about what we've created." "Explain," Admiral Park ordered. "We've built something that learns and adapts in real time. It takes human creativity and combines it with alien technology in ways that even I don't fully understand. Once we activate it, we won't be able to control what it becomes." Admiral Park studied the tactical displays showing the massive hegemony fleet closing on Earth. Humanity was facing extinction. Normal weapons and tactics wouldn't be enough. Deploy it, he ordered. The Battle of Earth began when the hegemony fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. Admiral Kathnari, commanding from his bioship flagship, expected to see a desperate human defense, fleet clustered around their homeworld. Instead, he found something that made no sense to his tactical computers. The human ships were scattered throughout the solar system in patterns that seemed random. Some were hiding in asteroid fields. Others were positioned near gas giant moons. A few were actually inside the atmosphere of Jupiter itself. "What is their strategy?" demanded the Vidari fleet commander. "This formation has no tactical logic." "Perhaps they have given up," suggested the Kalani admiral. "Their ships appear to be fleeing in all directions." But Captain Min-Ji Lee, commanding a fighter squadron hidden in the rings of Saturn, was watching the alien fleet through sensors that had been enhanced with Dr. Kim's new technology. The Prometheus system was already learning from the hegemony's approach patterns. "All units, this is Earth Command." Admiral Park's voice came through every human communication system. "The enemy believes we are scattered and broken. Let them think that for exactly 30 more seconds." The hegemony fleet moved toward Earth in their traditional formation. Thrylex bioships in front to absorb damage and provide biological support. Vidari energy vessels on the flanks for precision strikes. Kalani dreadnoughts in the rear for heavy bombardment. It was a formation that had conquered 100 worlds. But it had never faced an enemy that could learn and adapt faster than they could think. At exactly the 30-second mark, Dr. Kim's Prometheus system activated throughout the solar system. Every human ship suddenly began operating with perfect coordination, as if they were all parts of a single enormous organism. The scattered human formation suddenly made perfect sense. Each ship was positioned to attack the hegemony fleet from a different angle simultaneously. What had looked like random chaos was actually a carefully designed trap that covered the entire solar system. Captain Dong-Hyun Kim, commanding a converted cargo hauler near the asteroid belt, felt his ship's systems suddenly synchronize with every other human vessel in the system. Information flowed through his mind faster than he could process it consciously, but somehow he understood exactly what to do. "Fire everything," he whispered, and pressed the activation button. The asteroid belt exploded into action. Thousands of rocks that had been fitted with simple rocket engines began accelerating toward the hegemony fleet. But these weren't random projectiles, like the ones used at New Seoul. The Prometheus system calculated the trajectory of each asteroid to create a perfectly coordinated barrage. The Thrylex bioships tried to adapt to the incoming rocks, but the Prometheus system was adapting faster. Every time an alien ship changed course to avoid one asteroid, 3 more adjusted their paths to intercept the new position. From Jupiter's atmosphere, Captain Seok Jin Park's squadron emerged like sea monsters, rising from deep water. His ships had been hidden in the gas giant's storm clouds, their engines disguised as natural electrical phenomena. The hegemony sensors had never detected them. The surprise attack from Jupiter caught the Kolani dreadnoughts completely off guard. These massive ships were designed to withstand attacks from the front or sides, but not from directly below their formation. Park's squadron came up through their defensive grid like sharks attacking from the depths. Meanwhile, the Vidari energy ships found their harmonic communication networks being disrupted by signals that seemed to anticipate their every frequency change. Lieutenant Yeonhwa Choi, operating a communication jamming station on Mars, was watching her equipment perform impossible feats of electronic warfare. "The system is predicting what the aliens will do before they do it," she reported to Earth Command. "It's like it can read their minds." The Prometheus system wasn't reading minds, but it was learning from every hegemony tactic faster than the aliens could implement them. Every ship movement, every weapon firing pattern, every communication protocol was analyzed and countered within seconds. Admiral Kathnari watched his carefully planned attack dissolve into chaos. His bioships were being destroyed by perfectly coordinated asteroid strikes. His support vessels were being picked off by human fighters that seemed to know exactly where to attack for maximum damage. "How are they doing this?" he demanded. "Their coordination is perfect. No species achieves this level of tactical unity." "Sir," reported his tactical officer, "the human ships are operating as if they share a single mind. Every vessel knows exactly what every other vessel is doing." But the most shocking moment came when the human fleet began to physically change during the battle. Ships that had looked like simple cargo haulers suddenly unfolded into complex weapons platforms. Vessels that appeared to be standard fighters reconfigured themselves into assault bombers. Captain Wu Jin Han's ship demonstrated this perfectly. What had appeared to be a damaged transport vessel suddenly shed its outer hull like a snake shedding skin, revealing a heavily armed cruiser hidden underneath. "Surprise," Han said quietly as he opened fire on a Thrylex bioship that had moved in for what it thought was an easy kill. The hegemony fleet found itself fighting an enemy that wasn't just adapting to their tactics, but physically transforming to counter them. Human ships were becoming whatever they needed to be in real time. Dr. Sang-Wook Kim monitored the Prometheus system from his Luna facility, watching in amazement as his creation exceeded every parameter he had designed. The system wasn't just coordinating human forces, it was evolving them. "Admiral," he reported to Park, "the system is incorporating alien technology into our ships during the battle. It's analyzing every piece of hegemony equipment we capture and immediately adapting it for human use." This was something completely outside hegemony experience. Species fought with the technology they brought to battle. They didn't spontaneously develop new capabilities while fighting, but humanity had created something that learned faster than any organic intelligence. The Prometheus system was taking human adaptability and amplifying it beyond what any single mind could achieve. The turning point came when Captain So-Young Kim led a boarding assault against Admiral Kethnari's flagship, but instead of using traditional boarding pods, her team used Thrylex biotechnology that had been captured and reverse-engineered by the Prometheus system during the battle. The human boarding craft looked like Thrylex bioships, smelled like them, and even transmitted the right biological signals. Kethnari's flagship let them approach without firing, thinking they were friendly reinforcements. By the time the Thrylex realized their mistake, human soldiers were already inside their command ship, using weapons that combined human engineering with alien biotechnology in ways that shouldn't have been possible. The Hegemony Supreme Council met in their emergency bunker deep beneath the crystal world of Vadhar. The chamber that had once rang with confident voices now echoed with desperate whispers. Their greatest fleet had been destroyed at Earth, and panic was spreading across their territory. "The humans have technology we don't understand," Supreme Chancellor Velnathi admitted, the ancient crystalline being's harmonic voice cracking with stress. "They adapted faster than our computers could calculate responses." "It doesn't matter," growled the new Kalani representative, his predecessor having died at Earth. "We still have the planet killers. We use them on every human world simultaneously. Complete extermination." The chamber fell silent. Planet killer weapons had been banned by Galactic Treaty for over a millennium. Using them meant abandoning every principle that separated civilized species from barbarians. "If we do this," warned the Zorathi delegate, "we become the very thing we claim to fight against. Other species will see us as genocidal tyrants." "Better tyrants than extinct," the Kalani replied. "The humans have proven they cannot be reasoned with or defeated conventionally. We must destroy them completely, or they will destroy us." Admiral Kethnari, one of the few hegemony commanders to survive the Battle of Earth, supported the decision with reluctant certainty. "The humans don't fight like any species we've encountered. They grow stronger with each defeat. If we allow them to survive, they will hunt us across the galaxy." The vote was unanimous. Every human world would be targeted simultaneously with planet-killer weapons. Humanity would be erased from existence within hours. But the hegemony had made a critical mistake. They assumed that threatening genocide would break human resistance like it had broken other species. Instead, they had just unleashed something far more dangerous than they could imagine. Admiral Narration received the intercepted hegemony communications in her command ship hidden in the Kuiper Belt. The new commander of human forces had been chosen specifically for this moment. She was the most ruthless tactician humanity had ever produced. They want to commit genocide, she announced to the Emergency Council of Human Leaders, gathering via quantum communication. Complete extermination of our species. President Jae-min Lee's face appeared on the main screen from his bunker beneath. Soul. His expression showed no surprise, only cold determination. Then we have no choice. Remove all restrictions on human forces. Authorization code, Prometheus Unbound. The code phrase went out across human space within minutes. Every human commander, every ship captain, every colonial defense force received the same message. The gloves were coming off. Humanity would no longer fight to minimize casualties or follow civilized rules of war. They would fight for species, survival by any means necessary. Captain Dong-hyun Kim received the authorization while commanding the Human Liberation Fleet's newest ships. These vessels had been built using technology captured from the Battle of Earth, combined with human engineering in ways that created something entirely new. "You heard the order," he announced to his crew. "We're not defending anymore. We're going hunting." His fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Vadhar system, homeworld of the Vadari and seat of hegemony power. What the aliens saw emerging from the darkness of space made their crystal minds ring with harmonics of pure terror. The human ships looked like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. They combined organic Thrylex biotechnology with Vadari crystal matrices and Kalani heavy engineering. But more than that, they moved with the fluid grace of living predators rather than mechanical vessels. "Impossible," whispered the Vadari system defense commander. "Those ships are using our own technology against us." But the humans weren't just using alien technology. They had improved it. Dr. Yanhua Choi's analysis teams had spent months studying every piece of hegemony equipment captured during the war. They had found weaknesses and limitations that the aliens didn't even know existed. The crystal ships that defended Vadhar used harmonic frequencies to coordinate their attacks and maintain their structure. But the humans had learned to generate counter-harmonics that turned the Vadari ships' own power against them. As Captain Kim's fleet attacked, the defending crystal vessels began to resonate with destructive frequencies. Their beautiful harmonic weapons turned into chaotic noise. Their elegant crystalline hulls cracked and shattered like glass windows hit by hammers. "Broadcasting surrender frequency," the Vadari commander tried desperately. But the humans weren't interested in surrender anymore. "No prisoners, Captain," Kim ordered coldly. They wanted genocide. Now they get to see what happens when humanity stops holding back. The Human Liberation Fleet swept through the Vadhar system like a cosmic hurricane. They didn't just defeat the defenders, they methodically dismantled an entire stellar civilization. Crystal cities that had taken millennia to grow were reduced to dust in hours. But the most terrifying aspect wasn't the destruction itself. It was how efficiently and systematically the humans carried it out. They had studied Vadari society during the war and knew exactly which targets would cause maximum psychological damage. The humans destroyed the Vadari's harmonic libraries first, erasing millions of years of crystalline music and culture. Then they shattered the resonance chambers where young Vadari learned to control their powers. Finally, they targeted the master crystals that connected Vadari minds across interstellar distances. Within 12 hours, the Vadari had been reduced from a galactic power to scattered refugees, fleeing in whatever ships could escape the human attack. Similar scenes played out across hegemony space as human fleets struck at every member world simultaneously. The war's final phase was unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. At the Thrylex Hive Worlds, Captain Seok Jin Park led bio-warfare attacks that turned the aliens' own living ships against them. Modified viruses that had been developed during the Battle of Earth were released into Thrylex orbital habitats, causing their biotechnology to evolve beyond their control. Thrylex bioships began attacking their own creators, driven mad by human-modified organisms that rewrote their basic programming. Entire hive fleets turned on each other in frenzied battles that lasted days. The Kalani Dreadnought worlds faced Captain Minji Lee's adaptation fleets. These human vessels could reconfigure themselves to counter any defense, becoming whatever type of ship was needed to penetrate Kalani protective barriers. When the massive Kalani defense platforms activated their planet shielding arrays, human ships transformed into phase-shifting vessels that could pass through solid matter. When the aliens deployed gravitational weapons, human vessels became energy beings that couldn't be affected by physical force. But the most psychologically devastating attacks came from Captain Wu Jin Han's stealth fleets. These ships used captured hegemony cloaking technology combined with human hunter-killer tactics to stalk alien vessels across interstellar space. Hegemony ships began disappearing without trace or distress signal. Entire fleets would arrive at their destinations, missing half their vessels, with no memory of what had happened to them. The humans had learned to attack not just ships and stations, but the very concept of safety in space. The terror spread, faster than any physical attack could have managed. Species throughout hegemony space began reporting the same phenomenon. Human ships appearing from nowhere, striking with impossible precision, and vanishing before any response could be organized. Dr. Sang-wook Kim monitored the campaign from his research facility, now expanded to cover most of Luna's surface. The Prometheus system had been reactivated in a limited form, providing tactical coordination without the dangerous self-evolution that had occurred at Earth. Admiral Song, he reported, the psychological impact is exceeding our projections. Several hegemony member species are attempting to surrender individually rather than continuing the war. No, Admiral Song replied firmly. They declared genocide. They don't get to surrender when it becomes inconvenient. They wanted to see humanity's true nature. Now they will. The Hegemony Supreme Council tried desperately to organize a defense, but their rigid command structure couldn't adapt to human tactics. Every time they concentrated forces to defend a critical world, human fleets would appear somewhere else entirely. When they tried to use their planet-killer weapons, they discovered that humans had anticipated this strategy. Hidden human fleets struck the weapons platforms while they were charging their systems, turning the planet killers into massive bombs that destroyed hegemony worlds instead of human ones. The final blow came when Captain So-Young Kim led a surgical strike against the hegemony's central command complex. Using technology that combined all 12 member species' capabilities, her ships bypassed every defensive system as if it didn't exist. The Human Liberation Fleet materialized inside the Vadhar system's most protected area, surrounding the Supreme Council's bunker with weapons that could crack the planet's crust. Hegemony Supreme Council, Admiral Song's voice broadcast across all frequencies. You declared your intention to commit genocide against humanity. Your war crimes tribunal begins now. Supreme Chancellor Velnathi tried to negotiate. We were defending galactic civilization. Your species threatens the established order.